right, welcome everyone. We're going to get started with the legislative session briefing. I think we'll first wait for, there is Rep. Nance. We'll give him a moment to join.
Good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Right.
Doing great. Great to see you.
Thanks for coming. We're going to just start in with the briefing. We're really happy to have you here in this space. And I guess I'll be transparent behind the curtains. We would love for all of our lawmakers from Kitsap County, Mason. Oh shoot, have I frozen?
No. No, we got you.
No. Okay. Sorry, all the videos froze on me. But I think the reality of it is we know that our legislators are super busy and, taking an hour to kind of meet with the Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization and go over kind of what we think of as kind of priorities for the coming session is a lot of time for you. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks so much for making this commitment. Let's see, by way of introductions, I think we met before as a whole committee and did fairly extensive introductions. So is that okay? I mean, I think just briefly, as you know, we're county commissioners, city council members, tribal representatives, transit agency, general managers, port commissioners, may have missed some other roles from across Clallam, Jefferson, Mason, and Kitsap counties. And I do apologize, my connection is freezing, so I'm going to hide myself.
So far,
See
your
if that
words have
helps.
come through.
Okay, good. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure if that happened differently. We're going to share some slides and kind of get started. And then everybody is welcome to pop in. Rep. Nance, feel free to interrupt and ask questions as we go. This is more of a discussion than a presentation. And we want to strategize together. We want to collaborate together. We know that the work you do and the work we do at the local level is deeply intertwined, especially in work like transit. And so let's get started. Here's a slideshow. And feel free to jump in, goes for everybody. So I didn't properly introduce myself, but the outgoing chair of the Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization, I am terming out on City Council and will no longer be the chair after this meeting. This is actually my last meeting out of 8 years. So really happy to be here and happy to talk about stuff that is close to my heart with transportation planning. So we'll get into our concerns. We're going to cover the Hood Canal Bridge lift operation in a little bit more detail, and I think others might be able to help with some of those details. We'd love to hear your insights, Rep. Nance, on where things were at in 2025 and then leading into 2026. And then, any discussion we want to have along the way. We do not need to get to all these slides. Whatever discussion we want is way more important. Next slide, please. All right, just briefly, this is our geographic scope and our jurisdictional scope, and we've been working together for 34 years. Around 2019, WashDOT asked us to become an independent organization, no longer sponsored by WashDOT, and we went through a transition process there. We have a fantastic coordination team hosted by Kitsap Transit. Yeah, we'll move on to the next slide. And the photo there is actually an in-person gathering that we did last year. We've moved to pure virtual with everybody else during the pandemic. Previously, we traveled to an in-person meeting for hours, for a 2-hour meeting. Now we do everything virtually, although we are going to do another in-person meeting in 2026, hosted by the Jamestown Tribe. So we support members in really travel, safety, reliability, efficiency, specifically working on issues of more efficient use of federal fundings and federal swap program for rural agencies. We've been doing a lot of work on EV charging resources for the Olympic Peninsula, supporting tribal electrification planning and regional data, that supports grids, plans, and studies. We provide a data hub that hopefully all the jurisdictions that are part of PRTPO use. I should mention too, we have, this is a meeting of the executive board, which is mostly elected officials. We also have a technical advisory committee, which is mostly our transportation planning staff, a lot of the transportation engineers, although some of them also serve on the executive board. So we do have like a very robust technical team that is already assembled as part of the PRTPO. Next slide, please. So looking forward to 2026, we know that we as a state have a strong priority for complete streets that connect communities together, keep people safe. I mean, I think there's some goals toward Vision Zero. We maybe coined this term complete planning as a need that we have, that complete planning supports complete streets. And as we look at serious budget shortfalls that, no matter what we do for progressive revenue options will still have those budget shortfalls. And so how do we plan without the resources we need? How do we do complete street planning when we aren't going to be able to actually build out? And so thinking of things, when I first started on city council, I heard WashDOT's then director say, cut the pavement once. And when you're talking about an urban area, that's intertwined with the sewer system, with the water system, maybe with the electrical system if it's underground, maybe other resources that are underground. And the pavement overlays all of that. So I know at the city of Port Angeles, we have sometimes said, hey, that sewer pipe isn't yet at its end of useful life, but let's replace it before we do that repave, rather than end up with the patchwork that happens when our utilities don't coordinate together. That is much harder to do even at one agency, one government like the city of Port Angeles, where all of our utilities are owned by the city. When we're talking about complete streets planning and the work that we do across our region, we're really talking about working between different organizations. One example we put in our legislative folio was thinking about the fish barrier removal projects along state highways. And are there ways for that work to be coordinated better with transit, coordinated better with potential future non-vehicle or non-motorized vehicle uses? And, how do we just plan ahead? Even if it's saying, okay, we don't have funding for the curb cuts now, but we're going to put them in later, like just knowing that we want that space, just planning ahead for it. When WashDOT redid the Hood Canal Bridge, we looked at the preliminary designs and we're like, hey, like, what about pedestrians? What about the bus? What about parking for accessing these different recreational places nearby? And WashDOT did a great job of incorporating those things in. What we need to be doing, I think, is planning ahead and saying, what is our checklist for complete streets planning? So that even though we can't build all the elements now, we know that we're laying the foundation so we don't have to go back and undo things, because undoing things costs even more. Specifically on this note, there are new regulations for what's called shared streets, think Pike Place Market, and where pedestrians kind of are dominant in the street. I think a number of us are interested in exploring that more, but I think we need more guidance. So maybe this is a nudge to our representatives from WashDOT as well, but like, helping us figure out how do we actually do that and do that in the right way. We'll talk more about the Hood Canal Bridge lift operations later in this meeting. And then regional corridor planning is another area where there's, I think, a lot of synergy for just working together better. It's like that saying, the money's run out, now we have to think. So, that's where we're at in this idea of complete planning. Does anyone else want to jump in on this slide? All right, let's move on to the next one. All right, so other things that we're looking at going into 2026, improvements to the state ferry system, operations and reliability. That's obviously beyond our scope, but is very integral to the work that we do. When we ran the straight shot bus from Port Angeles to Bainbridge Island Ferry, initially that bus, the return bus, was timed to meet the ferry. So you knew that if you caught I'll make up the number, the 7:05 ferry out of downtown Seattle, you would be able to get all the way back to Port Angeles that night. Now we disconnected that that guarantee. So the bus leaves the Bainbridge Ferry Terminal at whatever time, 7:45, 7:50, and it's going to leave whether that ferry's come in or not. And so there's no guarantee as a passenger that you're going to get home. And when we're talking about that kind of travel, like that can make or break the difference for somebody. And a lot of the times we take the bus because we can't just afford a hotel room. When like we're taking those routes. So yeah, so that kind of interconnected reliability is really key for us to be able to build out a robust intermodal transportation system in Clallam County and on the Olympic Peninsula. I think personally, my vision would be we have a straight shot bus meeting every single ferry to Bainbridge Island. That's years out. But like, for us to do that, we have our own timetable, we have our own schedules. We're running our own dispatch and operations in Port Angeles just because that one bus is still on the road. And so the timing and the issues around being able to coordinate and connect, the reliability of the state ferry system is absolutely key. There's a toll credit issue around the Dungeness Line intercity bus service. Somebody else can get into the details if we want, but basically this is the bus line that serves from Port Angeles into the medical systems in downtown Seattle, and then serving the train station, the bus station, and down to SeaTac. And it's often a very important service for folks traveling who have a lot of luggage or need to be able to get door to door, especially for medical care. And so that is something that we want to continue to support. It is funded, or it's operated through Greyhound Lines, I believe, at this time. Finally, Hood Canal Bridge policies regarding large yachts. We are working with the Coast Guard. I think I can say with the Coast Guard to look at the policies about opening the Hood Canal Bridge for recreational vessels and looking at if it's possible to just set times for that instead of just any time that a boat wants to go through. And so that is a work in progress that we'll get to more in the meeting. Next slide, please. All right. I think we're emphasizing again that regional transportation coordination is an essential part, and we're excited to work with the legislature on that. There is a list of corridor studies in our transportation outlook. Does anyone want to emphasize any of the corridors at this point? All right, next slide. All right, finally that long anticipated canal bridge operation. I think we have this and then one more slide. So I'll just introduce it. So we're anticipating a lot more, probably highest ever participation or kind of tourist economy this coming summer with the World Cup. Although maybe our federal government situation might change a lot of people's willingness to come to this country. And so, we think that we'll actually see transportation impacts out, certainly into Kitsap County and even out onto the Olympic Peninsula. Not just people trying to go from lodging out in our region into the fan zones and the actual World Cup games, but also potentially people saying, hey, I've never been to the Olympic National Park, which is a World Heritage Site and a World Biosphere Reserve. I'm going to go there as well while I'm in this part of the world. So we want to use that as an opportunity to improve our transportation system, not just like do things kind of for the kind of crisis level demand that we might see, but also like how can we actually make this be better for inner city commuting and travel for residents in our region. So next slide, please. And so we have a few specific things around the Hood Canal Bridge. So we're asking WashDOT to request a temporary deviation of lift operations. I think we can get into the details of that a little bit more if we want to. And then also there's a specific budget ask for 150,000 to WashDOT to complete operational and economic analysis of the lift operations. So that would really help to understand like what is the best way to manage the different transportation uses of this bridge, right? Like the biggest demand is, people crossing over the bridge, but also people are crossing through or under the bridge. And how do we make sure that those things are done in a coordinated way? That doesn't impact, vital medical services, planned schedules of transit routes, et cetera. That's what we have for a presentation. I maybe ask Rep Nance, do you have any questions or areas you want us to dig into more before I kind of just open it up into a discussion?
Very, very, very helpful overview. Appreciate all the work that we're doing here to speak with one voice. Yeah, I would love to hear what's on y'all's mind and give a little bit of a preview of what we're thinking about on the House transportation side. And then I see my colleague, Senator Krishna Dawson, who's our vice chair for the Senate Transportation Committee, just joined too. So you'll get the Senate perspective from a strong leader here as well.
Awesome. Welcome, Deb Krishna Dawson. Senator, do you want us to redo any of that, or I can give a very brief summary?
And my apologies for being late. I know I was trying to find the first couple slides that you went through. I got in right before the Hood Canal discussion, so I can follow up with you after to get the rest of those slides. My apologies.
No worries. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you and Rep Nance. All right, let's see. Do we want to start with, unless there's anything burning from the members of the PRTPO, let's go to Rep Nance and Senator Krishna Dawson for kind of like what you're anticipating this session, if that is okay, if you're ready to do something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Senator, let me know if you want to kick off, or I can start us off too.
I'll have you kick off, and
Sure.
I'll go from there. Yeah.
Yeah, super. So number one, we are delighted to be here. This is where the magic happens. Our RPTO, this just the dialogue that we have right here, our ability to really dig in, to prioritize, and then to hand off a compelling vision to the legislature. You make our jobs a lot easier and a lot more fulfilling. So delighted to be here. I've had a chance now to meet most of y'all. For those I haven't, Greg Nance, I grew up on Bainbridge Island, really the gateway between the mainland and our peninsulas. And so lifelong ferry rider, that's how my dad got to work 5 days a week. That's how he put bread on the table. And we are a family that our vacations were to the Olympic Peninsula. And so multiple times a year, going for little hikes or up to Soul Duck or to explore the Dungeness Spit or the coast. And just I feel really, really blessed to have grown up here. And now, as a transportation geek, connecting with fellow transportation geeks and planners, there's a lot of wood to chop. We know there are challenges here in maintenance and preservation of what we already have, and then bringing vision of how do we build those complete streets? How do we ensure we're doing effective planning in this time with pretty severe budget constraints? My little theme here, my phrase is safe streets, connected communities, and fast ferries. And that's really where I'm aiming to do my work on house transportation. We've got to continue making our community a safe place to be, and that's prioritizing safe routes to school in some of our urban and rural clusters. We've got a lot of wood to chop on that. Part of it is ensuring accountability, that we're doing it at the right standard and doing it the right way, so that we can continue funding these projects across the state. I think a lot about the Sound to Olympics Trail and all of the good work that y'all have helped make happen on this. We've got to continue accelerating there and not take our foot off the gas. Lindsay, to your point on planning, there is a proposed roundabout right now on Bainbridge Island at the corner of 305 and High School Road that there's virtually no local support for this. And we have big concerns that this will make it much harder for folks embarking on the STO in the Puget Sound to Pacific to actually enjoy their first miles here without disruption. So we need to plan much more effectively, and really our our RPTO is going to be how we have this in the best level. So a lot of my work on the House side is going to be about ferries, bridging the gap on deferred maintenance. A lot of it is how do we get new boats in the water as quickly as possible. Many of y'all have been allies and great partners for our Mosquito Fleet Act to authorize more passenger-only ferries, to build more connectivity. And Lindsay, I heard you on the door-to-door for medical care. That's one of the key use cases here. For a lot of folks that are aiming to travel to hospital and to healthcare settings, it is a big lift to have to jump on a straight shot, to disembark with a bag, get on a ferry, head over into the city. The more that we can actually deliver here local healthcare options on the peninsulas, and then where that's not possible, convenient passenger only, dock to dock, door to door service is policy that we're aiming to make happen here. And Senator Krishna Dawson has been a key partner every step of this. We got that through the House 87-8 bipartisan majority, now onto the Senate Transportation Committee. And so a lot of wood to chop here. We've got to play some smart defense to ensure that we're maintaining forward progress on key priority. But by the same token, really, really appreciate bringing vision here, because as we look at the chance to rebound salmon populations on Hood Canal and the summer chum success story on Hood Canal, really we know our bridge is one of the key predation spots. So the lift in collaboration with the Coast Guard not only helps flow of folks trying to get home and get to where they're going and get to work, it also can help us boost salmon and boost national security preparation therein as well. So a lot of the issues we're looking at are going to require multidisciplinary leadership and support. And so delighted to be here to engage. That's a little bit from kind of our desk here. Look forward to hearing Senator Krishna Dawson's vantage, and then love to hear y'all's questions.
Thanks, Rep. Nance. And yeah, thank you for your amazing work on our ferry systems. I was new to the legislature last year and just blown away with the work and progress we've made in making the ferry system important. And I think that's one of the things I've learned mostly is that we have to keep the pedal pushed down forward to making things relevant and making sure that they stay on the top. I was, I'll be honest, very overwhelmed with the transportation structure and where we are with a lot of our roads and bridges and how far we are behind on kind of the maintenance of and preservation of what we do have. So that's going to be, I know, a big topic of conversation, especially after what's been happening in the last couple of weeks with our weather and roads washing out, and are we really prepared for all of this? The funding part of it's going to be a big part. So I was asked to come on board as vice chair on the budget side of it. So I'll be honest with you, I'm in the middle of like orientation 101, so learning all of that. A little anxious about, we did get some sales tax revenue over to balance and get a transportation package, a bipartisan package passed last year. Little nervous about what's going to happen with the operating budget and closing that gap, and if that sales tax is going to remain over in the transportation side. We're going to fight, definitely fight for that, because that did balance out the transportation budget. So yeah, so right now I'm doing a lot of learning on the budget side, and really what I'm hearing is a lot of what Rep. Nance said on making sure that we are building safe, reliable transportation that will meet our needs in the now and in the future, and making sure that we're really being smart about the growth and anything that we do add. I will say I've heard a lot of folks really talking about practical solutions. So, like putting in a culvert somewhere when it would have been more smart to do something over here before that. But a lot of that came down to, the lawsuit and the mandate that we have to get things done by a certain day, which doesn't necessarily make common sense all the time, but we have to do some projects before others because of that. But I am definitely going to push on making sure that one, the projects that we are doing are long term and we're not going to have to change them down the road. We have that vision, like Rep Nance was talking about, is how it's so important to have that as we look at all projects, because the money we spend, we got to make sure they're meaningful and long term for our state. So I have not had a chance to talk with Senator Leas much this last interim, and so I look forward to engaging with him to know more of how the Senate side's going to proceed with this. But Rep Nance, for sure, I will be talking to him about the mosquito flea and fast ferries, and I know uh, there's been some pause on some of that on the Senate side, and I want to dig into why and how we can move that forward. So I will be working on that, I promise. So that's my little update.
Thank you both. I see a hand raised by Poulsbo Council Member and Mayor-elect Ed. Please take it away.
Just want to introduce my state representative with a slightly different context. That is Greg Nance, whose work I much appreciate and have been following and working with. Since he was a freshman and he's still fairly new minted, he's had an outsized impact on the state budget in regards to ferry boats, recognized, and probably the biggest impact since Senator Karen Schmidt, who in the 90s was termed the ferry godmother. Some of you might remember that. He's right there. And I'll end on this note, Chair. This morning's Seattle Times, the headline, it's going to be hard for me to get it in here, but it's pretty big. I'm just going to read it. Ferguson wants $1 billion for new ferries, $150 million more to maintain old ones. And I just want to raise my hands for the role that State Representative Greg Nance has had in that, and look forward to him receiving strong support from our new state senator, Deb Krishna Dawson. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you,
Thank
Mayor-elect
you.
Stern. You've been a phenomenal partner. Mayor-elect Stern and I have hosted 3 town halls in Poulsbo to elevate the issue. And one of the special elements in our work on the peninsula is we actually have WSF crew members come out, and when you get to meet a machinist who's working at this, and he said, look, we need new tools, we need some financial support, we need some political will behind this. It makes it a lot easier. So Mayor-elect Stern, you've been a great partner on this, and it's deeply appreciated.
I think that raises a big question I have, and you spoke to it a little bit. And the budget is complicated and very hard to understand. So it's okay to be like, we don't know the answer to this yet. But we hear Governor Ferguson say he doesn't want to look for new revenue sources. He's going to propose an all cuts budget. We also hear him say he wants more money for ferries. And I don't think you can have it both ways. So like, what's our strategy going in, and how much does the larger operating budget fight impact what's going to happen with the transportation budget?
Yeah, so as y'all know, there's 3 big buckets here: operating, capital, and then transportation. Generally, these 3 are relatively firewalled, although there is some sleight of hands occasionally legislators will do. I like the clarity that comes with, hey, here are 3 buckets, you have to make each work. Within transportation, there are a few elements where we can look to. Number one, there are some projects that are of a discretionary nature that we bluntly do not have the funds to complete. I mentioned in my introductory remark that there's a proposed roundabout on Bainbridge Island where it's like, look, we don't have the $40 million right now to do that. Let's pause that indefinitely. We can come back in 6 or 8 years when the financial position is improved. We can factor in if that's still a priority. There are other priorities that are extremely urgent that we need to see to. That's where those dollars should be. And, I know Bremerton is represented on our call today, the Warren Avenue Bridge. We're about $1.5 million short of where we need to be for engineers' estimate to complete that. Let's put the dollars right there. And so part of this reprioritizing in real time is going to be very important in the supplementary budget year. Part of this, too, I think we can think a little outside the box. We have hundreds of thousands of tourists going to make their way to our region over the summer for World Cup. We are trying to get Wi-Fi on board our ferries as quickly as we can. Many of these tourists are going to have lots of videos and photos they wish to upload. Imagine selling a daily Wi-Fi pass or a weekly Wi-Fi pass where here's some good internet, good connectivity right here at the terminal and on board. And for just $50, you can get all your photos and videos posted to your blog or your social media. There are ways for us to generate relatively significant sums that we can reinvest into ferries. And that's where working with the Gov's team is, look, he doesn't want to issue new bonds or new taxes here, understood, but we've also got to pay our bills here, and we're short of where we need to be. So thinking outside the box a little bit here. And Senator Krishna Dawson has done really smart work learning the budget quickly. She's a former school board director, so really knows her way around a balance sheet. That's been useful on the Senate side as we try to put two good proposals together for the governor's consideration.
Thank you for that. What are other things? Just checking on the floor. Anyone else want to take it away? You have an opportunity to. There you go, Nicole. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for both being here. My name is Nicole Gauthier. I'm the general manager for Jefferson Transit Authority. And not really a question, just a comment. Jefferson Transit is, we're really proud of the fact that we've launched a run that will take community members and visitors alike from Port Townsend directly to the Kingston Ferry Terminal to access the Washington State Ferry, but also Kitsap Transit fast ferries. Our 2026 budget was passed this week. Thank you to our board members who are here. But included in that budget was the addition of Sunday service. So launching a Sunday service, which will allow, again, community members, visitors to both move inside our county and outside our county, making connections. One of Jefferson Transit's biggest hurdles, I would say, and I don't want to speak for Clallam Transit, but I will, and those representing Clallam can tell me to knock it off. That's fine. But it's the bridge and navigating the bridge openings. Jefferson Transit's a small agency. When we hear that, we're going to see an increase, a flux in individuals wanting to access our community, it makes me a little nervous. I don't have additional drivers, and I don't really have additional vehicles to help accommodate that. But what I would say our agency really needs is some consistency with moving across the bridge. And any time that we have large bridge openings or long-term bridge openings, that reduces our ability to continue running service both inside the county, because our drivers will come back and have other routes to run. So if there is a way moving forward that we can start really kind of strategizing and thinking about how do we better coordinate so that transit agencies can plan around some of those bridge openings, and feel confident when folks are boarding our buses that we can get them either to or from the ferry, that would be great. So here on the peninsula, lots of communication between Clallam Transit, Jefferson Transit, Mason Transit, and Kitsap Transit, trying to get people to where they need to be. And I think Jefferson Transit's doing some really cool things in 2026, but we could use some support when it comes to the Hood Canal Bridge.
Yeah, Nicole, thank you. Hear you loud and clear. We will be a partner however we can be, and you're already talking to the Coast Guard, which I think is an important consideration here. And then there's so clearly a public benefit, public interest to having regular openings that are brief, that those owning super yachts can get in line like the rest of us have to as we drive our cars. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. David.
Thank you. I'm David Four with Kitsap County Public Works. Apologies that Commissioner Root was not available today, so I'm sitting in for him. Just want to reemphasize for the county some things to look out for in the transportation budget going forward. As we've been talking about, the Hood Canal Bridge is a high priority for the county. And it also shows that Kitsap's need to not only support our movement within Kitsap, but also to support that movement to support the Olympic Peninsula and Mason County and the traffic going through that. We're right in the center moving forward. So we definitely would like to see some just paying some keeping an eye out for some of the corridor and projects that are currently funded but may need additional funding or just needs to protect the fundings. And those would be the SR4 realignment in Kingston to support that movement to the Kingston Ferry and the Kingston community. It has a shortfall moving forward, and also it has been pushed back a little bit because of some environmental issues, but to make sure that goes forward. The other one is the SR 305 corridor, which is moving forward, but also is experiencing, for the last projects moving forward, a shortfall and the ability to finish up some of those projects that were part of that corridor. And always on everybody's mind that is going pretty well right now, actually, in the study process, is the Ghost Corridor on SR3 and 16. It is moving forward. WashDOT is doing a great job in their Pell analysis, but it's a long-term, huge project that a lot of groundwork needs to be maintained during this period to anticipate in the future how we're going to advance those projects. Because all these corridors are very critical to Kitsap, but also critical to the Peninsula and also Mason County for that movement through and support. And so, again, just asking that to watch those corridors and those projects as the budget discussions and future planning is being envisioned. Thank you.
David, thank you for that as well, and making sure that we are kind of looking at budget and how that's going to impact the areas that you're talking about. The Gorst area too, absolutely. I know WASDOT's doing a great job of pulling alternatives together. I think that it was heard yesterday when we were talking with Kitsap Economic Development Group is that we just need to pick a path forward and start moving in that direction, because I think a lot of players have come to the table. A lot of players are willing to talk and come up with how we're going to move forward with that. I think with SIOP and the importance of that project, I think we can kind of piggyback off that to make sure that we do have transportation into that area, and the Gorst expansion or whatever the solution that we come up with, I think, is going to be making sure that we keep it as at the forefront and an important project. Congresswoman Emily Randall and I are partnering on that coalition and driving that forward. And with what WASDOT is proposing, we will do what we can to really secure the funding and really see that project forward. But I think what's important and what you're talking about too, again, going back to that vision, is things that we are doing today around the different corridors and around making sure that that feeds into the Gorst project eventually. Because again, we don't want to spend money that is going to be not fruitful in the future when it comes to keeping traffic moving through that area.
Well, thank you. And just as a note, the WashDOT project team for the Pell is working very well as part of that. And they just released their next phase or their next prioritization process as part of that. And it is open for comments until January on their narrowing down their alternatives. And so for those of you who haven't really been following it, it's a good thing to go onto the Gorst project website now and see the latest iterations of the prioritizations moving forward. They've been doing a really good job.
Thank you for that feedback. That's great. I know somebody was going to hear a presentation from WASDOT yesterday, so I know that they're out there sharing the information, which is great.
Thank you. I'll share a little bit more about bridge and connectivity. I used to do the 4-bus combo to get from Port Angeles to the Bainbridge Island ferry. And if one of those buses was late, there's no guarantee that you were making your next connection. I was in my 20s, I'd carry my sleeping bag, right? Like that was my goal. With the straight shot now, you get on that bus and you're good back to Port Angeles. So one time we were waiting in a line, on the Kitsap Peninsula for the bridge to open. And I was, working on my computer as I usually do, and suddenly realized, wait, we're doing like a 15-point turn at this intersection. And the bus turned around and the driver got on the announcement and said, hey, I got word from dispatch that we don't expect the bridge to open. So we are driving down, through Gorst, through Shelton, up the Hood Canal to get back to Port Angeles. And fortunately, we all rallied together as the driver and the passenger. One of the passengers was helping the driver navigate through Shelton because that's not normally where Clallam Transit goes. And yeah, and in a 45-foot bus, you need to make sure you pick your turns right. And so like we all got back home, right? But like had that been the situation before we had these long distance like express buses, we wouldn't have seen, like we would have been out of luck as a whole bus full of passengers. So that coordination and I think our ability to work together on that really, really makes it possible for people to get where they need to go and then still get home safely. So it definitely happens. Other people want to pitch in. David, thank you for bringing up your particular projects. There is no shame in saying, hey, this is something really important, for example, for Jefferson County. Greg, what's going on?
Yeah, I really, Rep. Nance and Senator Krishnadasan, I really appreciate you guys coming. I'm pretty new on PRTPO, but transportation hits us all. So I'm really I appreciate you connecting these issues. Rep. Nance, I especially appreciated you mentioning multimodal transportation. It's part of the system as well. And that Hood Canal Bridge is just a lifeline for Jefferson County and the Olympic Peninsula. It's tourism and economic development, but it's also patient transfers and it's really, my daughter is a student at West Sound Tech, so she travels that bridge every day for her school, and it's a great program. But sometimes there's a little 6-hour delay, and she's using school transportation to get back. So it's really critical, and we really are proud of the work that's happening with the summer chum and everything down in Quilcene where I live. We have a big partnership with the Jamestown Sklallam tribe to replace an 80-foot bridge with a 1,200-foot bridge. Is really going to unlock the floodplain in Quilcene and really contribute to the recovery of the summer chum. So these transportation issues involve the ecosystems as well as the people. But that Hood Canal Bridge is kind of a critical piece for our human resilience as well, and that's an ecosystem too that I guess I want to end on and say, thank you for all your work, and I appreciate the direction that you guys are going, and glad to meet you. Thank you.
Likewise, Greg, and I've been on the ground there in Quilcene as a member of the Hood Canal Coordinating Council, looking at different spanways and how we regenerate a floodplain that's going to be so important ecologically. When I was a 6th grader, I had the amazing fortune we raised summer chum in science class. And this was late 90s where things were very dire and very bleak. And it's a testament to a lot of the folks on this call right here. The work we do, it's critical, and it's about the future of our community and of this beautiful natural environment. And riding I did a little boat tour on the Hood Canal Bridge with heat tracking with the Port Gamble Sklallam. Hans Dabenauer was able to show this is the predation superhighway where these bigger marine mammals are able to kind of camp out eating the little babies. And summer chum are coming back, but a few of our neighboring species not yet. And so hear you loud and clear. We got to do the right thing. And as we think through multimodal and future connectivity, there's a way to do the right thing that benefits pedestrians and cyclists and drivers and salmon and boaters and commuters too. So hear you there. Let's keep moving forward.
Greg, just out of curiosity, what program is your daughter on in West Sound Tech?
She's in the carpentry program. Her 2nd year. She's, despite all our efforts to try to get her to go waste 4 years in college, she can't wait to get out of high school and get right to work in the trades at the house builder she worked for last summer. So she really enjoys it.
Good for her. And then so she's public transportation, or she gets transported there from the school district?
Most days she's volunteering at Habitat for Humanity, so if she's working, she'll drive herself. But most days she takes the Port Townsend school bus will go and transport her. So she'll drive up and meet it and drive over.
That's fantastic. Congratulations to her.
Thanks. Before I go to Randy, I should mention that Greg is our nominee for the chair of the PRTPO starting next year. Additional nominations will be welcome from the floor later this meeting, but I
Would not be
anticipate that
offended.
Greg will probably be our chair coming next year. All right, down to Mason County, Randy.
Good morning, Senator. We may have just had an opportunity to meet just recently at Tommy DeFord's event, the Elvis thing. Were you there for that?
I was.
Yeah, I'm that big ugly guy that came up to and met you. I'm a Mason County Commissioner. At the moment, I'm the longest serving direct in the row commissioner, it turns out, in the history of our county, which is an odd thing considering I never wanted to do it. That being said, I've been working on the bypass forever, of course. This organization was instrumental in helping me to push it forward. We also created the West Sound Alliance that really made a huge impact and got that through. Now, every year, of course, it's always on the chopping block, even though it's been very important to our area. One of the reasons why is the representatives for this area are on the minority party, so that always puts a low target on stuff. You know how that works. But with that being said, we've almost lost it a few times. I was invited to speak to the governor, Secretary of Transportation, and we were able to save it when we explained to him it wasn't a vanity project or anything else. We showed him how it was a safety project more than anything else because of the deaths and some of the other issues that we had. But we also wanted to point out a part that nobody ever talks about, and that is not just the economic development aspect of it, but the safety aspect when it comes to if there's a catastrophe. You have bridges on both sides of your Navy shipyards that are up here. The only way to get anything south is going to be through Mason County and through Highway 3 to continue to go down south. Also, to bring goods up from the south, it'll have to come through here as well in case of any type of catastrophe. The town of Belfair has 2 railroad trestles that go right through the middle of it that could come down at the same time, and that's another reason why that bypass is so important, not just for economic development. And also we have PSIC, which is the industrial complex here, that is a game changer when it comes to bringing in. And with the billions that are getting ready to be invested, there's a big portion going to go there. So please, I'm just asking you to understand and remember as these opportunities come up, the one thing they won't talk about is that safety aspect. If you're going to have a rally point for any type of major disaster, it's going to be at that airport, and the stuff has to come in and go out from there. If that does disappear and that a major catastrophe does happen, those railroad trestles will come down and it will be stopped. So please keep that in mind, aside from all the vanity stuff that comes up and all the macho and peeing on tree things for territory, and that's how it all works. I'm talking about my community as well. So I'm not talking about just anywhere. So please keep that in mind. There is more to it than just the basics.
Yeah. Excellent point. I do think the whole emergency planning is very critical for that area, and I think that's why we can kind of continue to push the federal government on that and press on that. I am glad to see that the bypass project is moving forward, and there's continued support behind that. Talking to Chair Elias, he is keeping that up there on a high priority. So continue to work on that.
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Talking about kind of inner city routes and we have a project in Port Angeles that is an example of the legacy of planning. We have a truck route. It's a state highway 117, I believe, but everyone just calls it the truck route. That goes from Highway 101 down into downtown, well, not downtown Port Angeles, but the port area of downtown Port Angeles. But where the intersection is between the truck route and Highway 101, you can only get on and off the truck route to the west. And really it was built for log trucks to come in from the west end and go down to the port of Port Angeles. Because there's no on-ramp and off-ramp facing east, all of the trucks that are going down through Port Angeles, kind of from that port area, heading east, rumble through downtown Port Angeles and really make it very hard to do anything in terms of improving streetscapes in downtown Port Angeles, which folks know is otherwise a pretty nice spot to be, a good historic downtown. So we're trying to complete that interchange at 101 and the truck route. We have some funding available. If there's more in the budget for this coming year, which I don't know if we currently are pushing for anything, but like that is something that would dramatically change the landscape for Port Angeles. It's really whenever people are like, we need to improve the streets in downtown Port Angeles, ironically, the pinch point, that rate limiting step, that leverage point is a couple miles away at that interchange of Highway 101 and the truck route. So that's, I think, my pitch for Port Angeles.
No, great flag, Lindsay. And the fact that that's on the state route gives us a real great entry point as the state to actually help with co-partner in building a vision, and like, let's get that funded. The more that we're planting the right seeds now and getting any kind of upstream work, whether that's surveying or pre-design or early engineering estimates, that means that as the budget comes back to life, we go farther down the draft list, and boom, if Port Angeles is next right there, get ourselves into the funding queue. So yeah, love to be a thought partner on that. City of Bremerton, we're embarking on some similar elements now off 303 and off Highway 3, and it's exciting. It really does change the complexion of a town, how people get around, and my favorite thing is seeing kids now able to walk to school, and what a game changer that is for a family that's trying to get off to work, to be able to let your kiddos safely head their way down the block. It's a big deal.
Lindsay, I was actually up in the area over the summer and did kind of see that area there from the city downtown and into the port area. And I did wonder about that. So yeah, thank you for flagging that.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful area.
It is, yes. All right. What else do people want to talk about? Because we can always let Senator Krishnadathan and Rep. Nance go a little early. Well, if not, I will just say, please know we are here to support you in the work you're doing. Senator Krishnadathan, you missed our intro, but we have a technical advisory committee of basically our transportation engineers for our different cities and counties and ports and tribes. And I actually don't know the connection that our transit agencies have with the TAC, the Technical Advisory Committee. And then our executive board, which is this meeting here, is mostly elected officials from all of our local governments that impact transportation in some way. And so, we hope that you'll look to us as, support for work you need to do. And if you need stories from our communities about why the budget for this wonky bureaucratic thing really matters, like, we can help you find those things. So please don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said earlier, I am finishing my term on the Port Angeles City Council. So it's my end of my time on the PRTPO. Ben Thomas, our current vice chair, is also finishing his time on Port Townsend City Council.
Yeah.
So we're likely going to be replaced later in this meeting by Jefferson County Commissioner Greg Brotherton, who spoke earlier, and Clallam County Commissioner Mike French as well. And then Mason Transit's General Manager Amy Asher is likely going to be our secretary.
From strength to strength here. And Lindsay, really appreciate your leadership in convening us. This is a group where we care, and when we work with one voice, we're going to get a lot done. So, Senator Krishnadathan and I, delighted to be a small part of this in moving forward. And please drop us a line if you're going to be in the Capitol for a hill day or a hill climb. Love to host you for coffee, love to riff, and love to move good projects forward.
Agreed. Yeah, that please. And do please reach out early and often, because I think this session is going to be very fast. Things are going to be coming at us quickly, and if we can get those stories, if we can get the impacts ahead of time, it's easier for us to kind of flag them and make a difference. So please do reach out. And I will put mine.
Thank you for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Ben, what are in the barrels behind you?
I'm a winemaker, and I'm having to multitask a little bit. These daytime meetings are tough, so Port Townsend Vineyards over in Port Townsend.
Amazing.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindsay, are you still on?
Yes.
Oh, I was just wanting to follow up with you on the, thanks, Rep. Nance. Follow up with you on the initial slides, or the earlier slides. Is there a way I
Yeah.
can do the presentation?
Yeah, let's see. Amna, are you able to send those to Senator Krishna Dasan?
I already sent those over to you and Rep. Nance via email.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. And
Nope.
I'll follow up if I have questions on that. Again, I'm sorry. I thought the Zoom was on my phone and it wasn't, so I quickly got home. So my apologies.
No
No
problem.
worries.
All
Thank you
right.
for coming. And
Thank
Amna's
you.
our coordinator. And so definitely like your first point of contact for anything PRTPO. That's Amna waving in the room
I'm the
there.
small lady over here in the corner.
Okay. Oh, very good. What is your contact information?
It's in the email I sent to you. You'll see it on there.
Fantastic. You're way ahead of me. Like I said, please keep us posted early and often because there's a lot coming at us. So
Okay.
appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Is there
That
any
was
objection?
great.
Yeah, let's do a little
Yay.
debrief and then move into our meeting. Is there any objection to starting? Well, I guess by the time we finish the debrief, we'll get to the next 3 minutes. So that was great. Nice work, everybody popping in there. Any other feedback? Any other reflections?
I want to say, Lindsay, I really appreciate how well you're able to fluently explain all that stuff, and I think that's very effective. So appreciate your leadership over this last 2 years, right? Thank you.
Thank you. I think Amna, your slides were great. It made it easy when I wasn't sure what I was about to say to just read the slide. So that is always nice. Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, it was great to meet them. I wasn't really I'd heard a lot about Rep. Nance before, so I thought it was good. The one thing, kind of messaging and from our policy requests, vis-a-vis the Hood Canal Bridge, that I thought we should probably respond to and develop some language or thoughts about is the kind of the summer chum impact and the predation. And I just don't know if that's been figured in. It's one of those things, like there's many things can be true at once, right? And I hate to hear another issue used as kind of the reason that we have to keep opening it for the Coast Guard, for the recreational vessels. So that was kind of the one bit, other than everything's cool, that I thought maybe could inform future conversations here.
Thanks, Greg. Other reflections? I'll say a little bit more. At Association of Washington Cities, the lobby team teaches the city council members that advocacy is a year-round job. And so, that was, and earlier this last year, we did some relationship building with Rep. Nance. That was a great connection there with Senator Krishna Dasan. I loved Randy making the connection. Hey, we just met at this thing. Obviously our state lawmakers meet so many different people. We want to make the information flow and the communication that we're sharing really easy for them. And then while we're inviting them to reach out, if we see something coming up and we're like, hey, wait, the transportation budget doesn't include this thing, we shouldn't assume that they know that that's happening. So definitely, as we go forward in, albeit a short session, but in subsequent years, we know that we can reach out to them because they know us, and hopefully their legislative assistant will take our call or schedule a meeting when we reach out for that stuff. So as we know with transportation planning, it's a multi-year, if not decadal sort of process. This is long-term work, and so is the relationship building with our lawmakers. So thank you all for being part of that. Any other words about the Legislative Forum? let's just do a quick straw poll, like do a thumbs up or a plus or minus or the X if you have the X, if you're like, no, that wasn't worth it. Like, how do people feel? Was that worth it or not worth it to do? Saying positive. All right. Cool. I want to ask that too, because it is a lot of scheduling work on the part of Amna, and I don't know if other people help or if it's just Amna who's really doing that. So just trying to get all the lawmakers to a particular time. So good to know that people feel that that's worthwhile. All right, thank you. I am still getting a notice that my internet connection is unstable. I think what's happening is my audio continues, but everybody's videos freeze. So I'm just not sure what's going on there.
We're not seeing any
so
freezing here or anything.
all right,
We're still
yeah.
clear and
it's just on my end. Oh, so you're not even seeing my video freeze?
correct.
Okay, so I must have like a load down.
Lindsay, you're
rate or
just
something.
fading fast. Is it the city or what? Are they turning down your
Yeah.
bandwidth capacity?
That's right. They don't give us an office, Ed. I don't know what you're doing down in Poulsbo. Yeah, so let's see. So I will not worry about that. But if somehow like it seems like I didn't hear what somebody was just saying, it's just because the audio on my end was cutting out. So I will continue to try to facilitate. If it seems like it's an issue, please don't hesitate to have Ben jump in as vice chair or
Will
something
do.
else. But I'll keep going unless it becomes an issue. Also, just a note on the facilitation front, I am not seeing everybody's video screen. It seems like it works better if I don't have the full video display open. And so I don't see people if you're physically raising your physical hand. I'm not going to see that. So please use your virtual hand if you want to get on stack, or just unmute and jump in if needed. We will start now our official executive board meeting. Welcome everybody to the December 19th meeting. We have been recording. Okay, so we'll just keep that going. And I am outgoing chair, Lindsay Schroman-Warren, Port Angel City Council member. Welcome everybody. We will start just to make sure that we have a quorum.
We do. Monica graced us with our last requirement. So thank you again. So we're good to go.
All right. And we often do a check-in. I feel like we've just been talking for an hour. So I'm just going to invite anybody new or anyone who wants to say hello to please feel free to come off mute and intro yourself or raise your hand and I'll call on you. I guess maybe that's not. Okay. All right. Approval of the agenda. Everyone's got the agenda sent out over email, also available on the website. So is there any objection to the agenda as currently drafted? Hearing none, we will. Oh, Randy, go ahead.
Move for the
All
approval.
right. We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any objection to approving the agenda? Nice. I was going to try the without objection, the chair, but I appreciate the formality of that. Thank you. I see a hand up from our host room.
Yeah. Hi, Chair. I just, today's kind of a special day for PRTPO. Not only are you as our board chair leaving and Ben as our vice chair, but we also have our fiscal agent, Jefferson Transit, Miranda Nash. This is her last day at Jefferson Transit. So we wanted to thank her, and then also Thera Black. This is her last, essentially, month as PRTPO coordinator, as the transition to AMNA has taken place in a very smooth fashion. I want to thank all of them for helping, get this PRTPO going, all of you, and it's made my life pretty easy, and I think AMNA's fallen into her role really well. And thank you so much, Miranda, Thera, Lindsay, and Ben. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been great to work with you during this time as well. And yeah, when we're not in formal positions, we probably fade out, but yeah, thank you all. All right. We've approved the agenda consent calendar, approval of minutes from October 17th, 2025, and the state fiscal year 2026 Q1 invoice approval. Is there any discussion on those items for the consent? Any changes to the minutes or any questions or comments on the invoice? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda.
Thank you, Randy. Is there a second?
Rachel seconds.
Rachel seconds. Any further discussion on the consent calendar? Hearing none. Is there any objection to approving the minutes and the state fiscal year invoice approval? Hearing no objection, that is passed by unanimous consent. Thank you.
Bless you,
All right,
Greg.
next item. Next item is actually our forum debrief. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Takeaways, next steps. Anything else around the forum? I like that this has next steps too. All right, it's okay if we don't. And we'll be in touch as that moves forward, as legislative session progresses. All right, moving on then. Next item is the release of requests for proposals, the RFPs for the 2026 Human Service Transportation Plan. Do I send this to Amna for more info?
I'll take care of this.
Or Ed, thanks.
Yeah. So it's hard to believe, but it's been 4 years since the Human Services Transportation Plan was completed, almost 4 years. And, last time, we did it a combination with a consultant and through Thera's work and then your work as a board and the TAC. So we're looking to, this year, we're looking to go out to RFP again. We have about $85,000 of state funds. It's actually a little bit less than that. And it's state money this time, not federal money. So we don't have to do any weird workarounds like we had to last time. The scope of work is attached. One of the emphasis areas this year in the HSTP is on public participation. So that's something we've met with the State Public Transit Division, and they're really focusing on that. So I'm asking the board here to approve the release of the RFP. And then once the RFP is released, we're going to have a close date, I believe, of January 9th. So release it next week and then close it on January 9th and see how many folks submit proposals. And then we want to bring it to the TAC for them to review. We have a scoring committee made up of Kitsap Transit staff, and then 2 TAC members have volunteered to help score the proposals. Once the TAC approves the recommendation for which proposal is best suited, we plan to bring it back to you in February for your consideration, and then hopefully start work in March and have a draft plan complete by August, and then submitted to Washington State Transportation Department, Public Transit Division, no later than this time next year.
Thank you. Any questions about that plan for the Human Services Transportation Plan? Is there a motion to approve the release of the request for proposals for the 2026 Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan?
So moved. Brotherton?
Second.
Thank you, Greg. Second by Ben. Any further discussion? All right. Any objection to approving the release of requests for proposals for the 2026 Coordinated Human Services Transportation Plan? Hearing no objection, that passes by unanimous consent. Oh, wait. Somebody off mute. What's going on? I don't think that was an objection. I think we're still unanimous consent on approving the Human Services Transportation Plan. Thank you. All right, next up is approval of the 2026 to 2031 Regional Transportation Improvement Program. I'll send it back to the mothership.
Hey, me again. Jefferson Transit has submitted 12 projects for consideration to be amended into the RTIP. as amendment number 1. These 12 projects are all planned projects for ranging from electric vehicle purchases to facility improvements. The 12 projects are in your agenda pack. If you approve this item, I will amend it into the PRTPO 2026 to 2031 RTIP and reattach it to the website. So that's all we have for the RTIP. It's our first amendment of this year.
Thank you, Ed. Any questions? Jefferson Transit, do you want to say anything?
We've got a lot of plans, and so we would just appreciate having this approved.
I'm excited about that. Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the addition of Jefferson Transit projects to the PRTPO 2026 to 2031 RTIP? And this was approved by the TAC in November.
So moved.
Thank you, Ben. Second?
Second, this is Amy Asher.
Second by Amy. Thank you. And I realize that the requested action, I like knowing that it was approved by the TAC in November, but probably that shouldn't be part of the motion. So I'm just noting that in the future. All right. So any further discussion on approving the Jefferson Transit project's addition to the RTIP? Hearing no further discussion, any objection to approving the addition of the Jefferson Transit project, Jefferson Transit projects to the PRTPO 2026 to 2031 RTIP? Hearing no objections, that also passes by unanimous consent. Thank you. All right, next up is RTIP Consistency Findings. Thera, blast from the past. Thera Black.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. I dialed in right at the end of the forum, and it sounded like you all had a really great discussion. It was great to hear that. So I am here today, my last agenda item before you. The last loose end I wanted to, get mostly tied up before I leave. And this is the determination of consistency between local comprehensive plans and the regional transportation plan. And so you might recall, that back in June, when you adopted the regional transportation plan, you also that included approval of these principles and guidelines for determining consistency. And this is a requirement, comes out of the Growth Management Act. And back in June, you had to verify that the RTP was consistent with the countywide planning policies of the 4 counties, and that those countywide planning policies were consistent with the RTP. And that included these guidelines and principles. We use those same guidelines and principles now to go through the second step of that process, which is to verify that the comprehensive plans that are adopted by local agencies are also consistent with the RTP. And so I think you all know in the various hats that you wear when you're not at PRTPO that local agencies have been very busy for the last few years. They're on different schedules, but with updating their comprehensive plans. This is part of the periodic update that's required by state law. This particular update is primarily, the biggest changes in there are related to housing and housing affordability. Some of these have been extremely challenging matters for local agencies to work through, but all of your jurisdictions are either have completed that process, that update process, or making good strides towards it. So I've gone through and reviewed all of the plans that are substantially complete. There's one that is not, there's really nothing yet to review, and that's for Bainbridge Island. But for all the others, the other 12, I did review either the final plans or the substantially complete drafts. WashDOT did ask that we refrain from taking any final decisions about the substantially complete drafts until after they're adopted. So when I wrote this briefing memo for you all, there were 2 plans, several that had already been adopted that included all of our Kitsap County partners, Kitsap, Bremerton, Port Orchard, and Poulsbo, not Bainbridge. Also, Forks had completed theirs, And since on Tuesday night, I'm happy to say that Mason County and Port Angeles both adopted their comprehensive plan updates, and they did not make changes to the transportation element, from what I had reviewed. And so I am coming to you today to ask for you to consider the comprehensive plans of Kitsap County, Mason County, Bremerton, Forks, Port Orchard, Port Angeles, and Poulsbo to be consistent with the regional transportation plan. If you have questions that cannot be answered today, or concerns, or you want just more time to think about it, this will come back to you in February for your action. This is your schedule that you're operating with. If there are no questions and there are no concerns, you can go ahead and take action today. So that is an option to you. This failure to demonstrate consistency with the RTP means that those agencies that are not consistent with the RTP are ineligible for state transportation grants. So it's a pretty big deal. This consistency determination happens about once every 10 years, but that is what this is all about. It's just helping to make sure that all the individual plans are the way the state defines, the way the law defines consistency, is to make sure that they are not incompatible with the regional transportation plan. And while they're all completely, every one of our communities approaches plan, there's no cookie cutter approach to how this is done. Every community approaches its comprehensive plan and planning process in ways that meet your public's needs and the rest of your organization's needs. So it was really, I'm sorry, it was what I was doing at the very end of my tenure with you all, because it was very revealing and insightful, and I'm just really proud of what everybody's doing. It's really neat. So anyway, so I'm here to answer any questions you might have and possibly take action, or if not, it'll come back to you in February.
Thank you, Thera. Yeah, reading over that stuff, I wish Amna could have been looking over his shoulder the whole time. I don't know if that happened. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. All right, I see Councilmember French, and then, I'm sorry, Commissioner French, and then Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, I just wanted to update Clallam County. I think we're going to be first quarter of next year with our adoption of the comprehensive plan. I think Tara has provided comments to our Department of Community Development. One thing for the people in the region that probably know this, but we have an elected director of community development. So the commissioners, we have a little more of a collaborative relationship with the comprehensive plan, where we want to respect his independence. But I believe we've been able to incorporate those comments. And so I don't anticipate there being any real issues with Clallam County, but we're looking at adoption, I think, in the first quarter of next year.
And that's great. And Mike will bring that, that'll come just like this is coming. That'll come. And yeah, and I did go through all of your plans, and your staff accommodated the changes that I'd requested.
Thank you. Ben.
And my comment is just that, Port Townsend passed the comprehensive plan on Monday night, and I actually don't know if the issues were adjusted that you had brought up. So do you know, Thera?
I don't know. I haven't heard back from folks over there in a while. So I will take a look at that. But that is not, there were some issues that had to be addressed in that first draft, just to check all the boxes that the state needs to see checked.
Yeah, we got so distracted on the housing and in development regulations that I didn't really double back on the transportation stuff, because it looked good from July, I thought. But
there were just a few things that needed to, and Steve explained how really you all took an entirely, just took a very fresh approach. It was not so much an update as it was getting rid of the old and taking a brand new approach. And I think just in that process, maybe some things that had sort of been embedded in it for a while fell out. So I'll follow back up with Steve and see where those things fell out. Or how they all played out. I haven't seen the updated version.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Yeah.
So Thera, it sounds like you are not just giving everybody a pass here, that if a government has not put in the changes that you think they need, they're not getting they're not getting to this point, like seeing Port Angeles on that list. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
Port Angeles checked all the boxes. There were just a few things in Port Townsend that is like our responsibility to you all, to make sure that those things are included and just to make sure that if it wasn't coming from us, it was going to come from Commerce or WashDOT, some of these concerns. So yeah, so that we tried to do it in a more collaborative way up front.
All right. So recognizing that we're going to see items like this in the future about some more of the jurisdictions that are doing comprehensive plan adoption, periodic update adoption at this point in time. We do not have to do a motion today. So recognizing that. Is there any further discussion? And hearing no discussion, it's okay if there's no motion. I'm just making that clear. But is there a motion to find the comprehensive plans of Kitsap County, Mason County, Bremerton, Forks, Port Orchard, Port Angeles, and Poulsbo are consistent with the regional transportation plan?
So moved. So moved.
Motion
second.
by Commissioner Taylor and second. Who made the second?
Greg Brotherton.
Thank you, Greg. All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing no discussion, any objection to the board finding that the comprehensive plans of Kitsap County, Mason County, Bremerton, Forks, Port Orchard, Port Angeles, and Poulsbo are consistent with the regional transportation plan? All right. Hearing no objection, that passes by unanimous consent. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. And Thera, thank you for holding us to account to make sure we're doing the right thing there. Appreciate it. Good thing you're not reviewing the housing section. That would be controversial. I hope you didn't have to listen to our city council meeting on Tuesday.
I'll just say, reading these plans, you can tell there were some very hard conversations that, what our values are, what all the community's values are, and then the practical, real world challenges of meeting that. This was a tough update for a lot of you all. So thank you for all the hard work you did on that.
Thank you. All right. Next up is a retreat planning group. Let's see, Amna, do you want to introduce us a little bit more?
Yes. So as you guys know, we approved the in-person retreat to be on April 17th next year. And so at the executive committee meeting, we did discuss how can that retreat look like. Some ideas that came up in that discussion was to make sure discussion groups have a mixture of different counties so people can meet new people and discuss different things. Having table exercises. And then some topics that was mentioned was the Hood Canal Bridge, FIFA, and the HSTP update. So after having that discussion, what the main discussion was around, do we need to have a committee from the board to help, flesh out the ideas of the retreat? Now, with it being December and April is around the corner and we are biweekly, the committee, this planning group or committee would meet next month and probably before February as well to discuss themes, topics, and guest speakers for the retreat. So the ask here for the board is to have a little bit of a conversation about ideas for the retreat and then to see if anyone wants to volunteer to be a part of that committee or group. Excitement. Yay.
Yes. All right. Any discussion or questions? Just noting we're talking an in-person meeting on January 21st. All right. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the retreat would be on April 17th. The group will be meeting virtually in January. The time to be determined by the group themselves to make sure we have a good attendance. And then maybe another one in February to kind of get, final thoughts one more time before we have the board meeting.
All right, thank you. So, the in-person time is really valuable. We want to make sure like we're doing the things that make in-person worthwhile. So is anyone feeling like, hey, I really want to help make some items, some exercises, activities, make sure that they happen there for the April 17th in-person meeting? And if no one's raising their hands, then that means our staff are going to figure it out.
You will be giving me free range to do anything.
Yes. And no complaining afterward. Greg, go ahead.
I'm happy to say, I think I already said in the executive committee, but happy to help plan it and make our in-person meeting in Blinn great.
All right. Without objection, I'm going to assume that people who say yes to this are going to be part of that meeting and coordinate with Amna. So we've got Greg. Anybody else? Nicole, go ahead. Do you want to say a speech?
No, just that I will help.
All right.
Speech.
All right. Jefferson County is stepping up. Anyone else?
Come on, Mason, Kalalam, Kitsap.
I'm gone, or I would jump in. Sorry.
Thank you.
All right. No worries, Randy.
Yeah, and I'm
Okay.
looking at my calendar and I don't know when I'm going to have a free day. It's already full.
And Amy, don't worry about that. I think it will also probably get discussed in the executive committee meetings that you likely will be part of coming up here pretty quick. All right. So I think that's great. So 2 folks to help Amna with planning for the April 17th in-person meeting, which will be at the Jamestown Tribes Red Cedar Room. Anything else on that item?
I did have a lot of time on here for discussion for anyone to give any ideas. If you're not able to attend to be a part of the planning group, you're still allowed to voice, your ideas or thoughts about topics or guest speakers.
All right. Anyone else want to share what you're hoping for? Any ideas, what you don't want to have happen? All right. Well, obviously there is time so please, if something comes to you, let Amna know. And thank you for that. All right. Anything more on that item before we move on? All right. We're ready to move on. Next item is the election of the 2026-2027 PRTPO officers. So this was highly contentious, lots of competition. And I don't know how many arms were broken in the process. Amna, do you want to say more before we get into it?
I don't think there's anything else to add. It was very stressful time period trying to find find time where people are not yelling about trying to become chair. But I'm happy that we got to this point and we can now go for a vote.
All right. And I will ask, so we do have nominations for Greg Brotherton serving as chair, Mike French serving as vice chair, and Amy Asher serving as secretary. Nominations are also welcome at this time. Is anyone else interested in being nominated or self-nominating? I think I just said it the same way twice. Any other nominations? Going once, going twice. Nominations are closed. Is there a motion to approve for the I should clarify, these are all these are first 2-year terms. So that's the same for all 3. Any objection to is there a motion to approve the executive board officers as chair Greg Brotherton, vice chair Mike French, and secretary Amy Asher? Ben, I see your hand.
I would move to nominate them as you just described it.
All right.
So Greg
There's a
Brotherton
motion.
as chair, Mike French as vice chair, and Amy Asher as secretary.
Thank you. As second.
Rachel seconds.
All right. I was about to say not hearing a second. We've got a second. So any further discussion
Thank you all for being willing to step up. I really appreciate it. It's fun, isn't it, Lindsay?
It is. And to be fair, because we're gonna go through this process in the future, planning doesn't end. It is not that much more work to be an officer for the PRTPO. Our staff make it incredibly easy. They're incredible. And we're really kind of just a sounding board ahead of these meetings, helping to anticipate, what should be on the agenda, kind of what we need to focus on. So it's an additional meeting every quarter, as well as some additional work for the chair in terms of reviewing and signing letters was kind of, I think, the main thing I did. I did not do as much as Beck, who will appreciate more at the end of this meeting. But certainly there's opportunity for more. At the same time, I don't want PRTPO executive board members to feel like this is something that people can't rotate into in the future. So, any further
And
comments?
just to say, it's every other month where there's that extra meeting, not quarterly.
Oh, thank you. Yes, my apologies. I may have missed a meeting.
Yeah, yeah, I probably
right.
did. I probably did about once a quarter on my average as well.
Okay, thank you. So, any objection to our next, for their first 2-year terms, Chair Greg Brotherton, Vice Chair Mike French, and Secretary Amy Asher? Hearing no objections, let's give them a big emoji greeting into their new roles. Thank you. Thanks for stepping up.
Thanks so much.
I know,
Excited.
Greg, you said you're new to PRTPO, but I think you shouldn't feel new to this process in any way.
I love the deep
All
end.
right.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Let's see. Let me pull up the agenda again for our next item. We are at PRTPO coordinator updates. Back to the mothership.
Alrighty then. So my update, there's a lot of random things on here that didn't really seem to have a need for additional a memo. So these are just really quickly here. The first thing is that the meeting schedule is going to go out and we'll have a new schedule. I'll be setting up the invites this week so everyone can have it on their calendars. However, June of next year, our normal cadence and lands on Juneteenth. And so the alternatives for that meeting can be June 12th or the 26th. Someone did flag that on June 26th is a FIFA game, so the counties may be very busy, or cities may be busy during that time. I will bring up the date change in February for us to vote on to make sure we can have that date updated. But it is noted on the 2026 calendar attached in the agenda packet that the June schedule is the June date is still being discussed, so it's tentative at this time. Second, we have mentioned or emailed about a call for freight projects for WashDOT. The TAC was informed in November. We are accepting projects until January 5th, which were reviewed in the TAC meeting in January and then brought to the board for confirmation in February. Submissions are taken via email. We basically are just looking for project information, like anything you could give us to make us understand the actual project. I will send more information to folks about that if that's needed. And that's more information about that is in the agenda packet on page 14 and 15. And then coming in a couple of days ago, I was aware of a different freight call for projects from the Freight Mobility Strategic Investment Board. And they're opening up their applications for their 6-year strategic investment program starting Monday, December 15th. The deadline would be March 6th. I'm not currently at this time aware of how we're supposed to be involved in that process, but I will be notifying the TAC via email about this being there, and then I'll update them as I know more about how we're supposed to be a part of that process. Have 2 more things. One is that an organization called Long Live the Kings has reached out to us. Their organization that is working on a review, an assessment of the Hood Canal Bridge, looking at how we can improve the bridge for people and for salmon as well. They're trying to present this month, but because of the forum, we didn't have enough time. So I'm looking to find a good time sometime in either February or the month after, the meeting after, to have them attend and present about their project. And they could be, a person that, a speaker for our retreat. That's also an option as well, but we'll see about how that will go. They did give me a blurb about them, and you can find it on page 16 in the agenda packet. And then for some house cleaning here, housekeeping, I will email everyone in this meeting to notify me of any new people rotating into the role. I know the new year is coming up, so people may be, filtering off or on of being part of the board, or maybe even the TAC as well. I would say that it's very important to also nominate your alternatives as well, to make sure I have someone to contact because you're not able to attend or to inform them, for information sharing and whatnot. But yeah, just think about that. Step down, or someone's going to take over for you, so we can have a clean email sheet. And if anyone knows about Brendan Mayer of City of Port Angeles or Kate Dean for Jefferson County, I had them on my list, and I got a kickback, and I'm just wondering if any about those two people.
Yes, Brendan resigned from City Council.
Okay.
And so
Kate Dean is
he's
not
no
on
longer.
the Board of County Commissioners. We'll give you another alternate.
Thank you.
And I know the Port Angeles process, we'll, do that through January, or the council at that time will do that. So it won't necessarily be right away. So you are right on track to know that this is going to be kind of a process through the spring for many of the governments reappointing or deciding who their representatives are.
Well, I will just keep bringing it up until April to make sure I have everyone updated in there. So that is my section. I think that maybe Ed has something for everyone.
Yeah, I again want to thank Thera and Miranda for all their support over the last 6 years. And I also want to thank Lindsay and Ben for their support over the last couple of years. I don't know if you want to have any, final words. We will miss all of you.
Well, does Miranda want to share what's happening?
Yeah, what are you doing?
So I've not been let go. Nicole's not getting rid of it. I have accepted a position with our Washington State Transit Insurance Pool as their deputy director. I'm very excited. So I'm not leaving transit, just get to interact with transit in a different way. I already have Jefferson on my calendar come back and do their property appraisal on June 1st. So I will be seeing them very soon. But I'm very excited because I get to continue to work with transit in a different capacity, and I'll get to see Amy and even my own team here. So it's very, I'm very excited for the change. But also, I just want to say I really appreciate the time that I got to serve on PRTPO and everything that I've learned here, and Thera's support when Nicole and I first came in and started doing our interim. So just really appreciate it, and appreciate what PRTPO does, and never knew they existed before I became in the transit world. So I think we just need a little bit more marketing to get more people involved. So.
And I will say, Miranda and I have had discussions, and Jamie will be taking over the duties of fiscal agent. So if anyone was concerned, don't be. Jefferson Transit's got it covered.
Jamie's great.
Jamie is also chair of the TAC. So lots of familiarity with PRTPO, but we will continue on as fiscal agents.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamie, for stepping up. Congratulations. I mentioned earlier Becca Ashby, who was chair before
Lindsay,
me.
can I jump in?
Yeah.
I just want to say congrats to Miranda, and I want to say to Jefferson Transit, I think this is actually a sign that you have a good, healthy organization with a good culture. When your staff is able to advance and jump to another organization and rise in their, field, that's actually really good. I know it's probably difficult. It's probably tough on the agency to have to then backfill and do that. At Clallam Transit, we've had a couple of general manager transitions, and we've been able to find internal candidates that have been able to go into those positions. I think that shows that we're a strong organization. I think that this is a great, going to be a challenge for Jefferson Transit, but it's great in the
Yeah.
big picture.
And congratulations to Clallam Transit's new general manager. So we were very excited when we found out that Mr. McNichols was hired. So very,
Yes.
very happy about that.
Thank you. And we did at Clallam Transit, we did do, a competitive open process for that. And Jason was a fantastic candidate, even in a very competitive pool with some other very highly qualified candidates. So we were excited to hire him there. Yeah. Okay. Anything else for Miranda? Okay, thank you. All right, I was going to mention Beck because Beck was our chair for a long time. Beck was absolutely instrumental in forming the PRTPO as its own organization when WashDOT dumped us on the side of the road. Beck passed away in October. I wasn't able to make her memorial. I think some people here, I know some people here do know Beck better than I, having worked with her in many other capacities. I only got to serve with Beck in the PRTPO and really appreciated her mentorship, her guidance, her dedication to this organization. As people may know, she was a city council member and then stayed on to be the PRTPO representative for her city, even after her city council role, which I thought was very creative and allowed her to dedicate so much to getting the PRTPO off on a good start as its own organization. So I did want to make some space here. I guess we're kind of moving into member updates, but we will make sure we do public comment as well. Make some space for anyone to say anything about Beck.
Sarah's got her hand up.
Thank you,
Lindsay, if I could, Beck, I had a pretty close, yeah, she was amazing. I did go to her memorial, and the stories, this woman, what a remarkable life. This woman, I just saw the very tip of it and what she shared with me. Here's an interesting little bit of trivia. John's not on, John Clausen. He met Beck back in the 70s. She was the first female umpire in the Little League for Little League west of the Mississippi River back in the 70s. She made time, and her daughter told the story about how when mom was out umping on, did I say referee? Anyhow, baseball, Little League, umpire, yeah, third base umpire, that she was mortified because she had to wear this like fluorescent orange coat because that's how Beck could keep an eye on her in the stands while she was also out there participating in her son's baseball game. And she was remarkably close with her two kids. Her son died a few years ago. But he was sort of like there that day during the memorial too, as a part of the presence. She was born and raised in that Port Orchard area. She grew up there. I was sitting next to a woman who used to play with her when they were in elementary school, and they were called like the Rankin Hill Gang or something like that. This group of kids who they still knew each other, almost, 80 years later. It was just so, it was so inspiring. And we just saw the tiniest tip. But everything that she did for PRTPO was absolutely indicative of who she was. She worked her way up. She never shared this with me, but others spoke to the fact that she was self-conscious that she did not have a college degree. And she was a single mom at a time when it was not easy to be a single mom. There wasn't anything like the support structure today. And back then, for our younger women members who may not know, that it was hard for women to even hold professional jobs back in the early 60s and late 50s. And it was hard to get loans. You couldn't get a house. You couldn't get a mortgage loan on your own if you were a woman, especially a single mother. And she got a job as a bank teller. And she worked her way up to be president of that bank. I mean, she was such, and she was actually, and then she was responsible then for selling that bank when they got bought out by a bigger conglomerate. She was just such a remarkable woman that all of that came to bear in how PRTPO 2.0 came to be. I was just so just blown away from everything that happened. And she's widely beloved, in her various many different communities. She was an avid hiker, kayaker, she skier. She was just really a remarkable woman that we only had the tiniest opportunity to experience that. It was so much fun to see pictures of her, from when she was young, and she had that like bouffant, 60s era hairdos and all this kind of, it was just it was really it was a really, really nice celebration. So I just want to pass that on. That's not why I had my hand up, but that's why you gave me that opening. Thank you.
You anything else on Beck, and then I'll circle back to Thera's other reason to have your hand up. All right, thank you all. Thera, what else?
I wanted to report out to you all on the request that you submitted in October to our federal delegation to request the term I know now is a deviation in bridge lift operations during the World Cup next summer. So that's what the official term is. And we heard our federal staff responded, and in particular, Bill Shawns from Senator Murray's office. I've been in correspondence with the Coast Guard, a guy named Danny McReynolds out of Seattle. He put me in touch with Paul Garr, and helped me understand what we do for a temporary deviation like this. He put me in touch with a guy named Paul Garr, who is WashDOT's bridge manager for bridges that move. And then yesterday I met with Matt Beatty from WashDOT, who this project has been assigned to him. And so he is going to be the one to submit a letter to the Coast Guard on PRTPO's behalf. And he said what would be helpful to him to make sure that this gets a little oomph, with both internally with WashDOT, because they really got very full plates right now with all the destruction all over the state, as well as with the Coast Guard, is if PRTPO, basically the same letter that was submitted to the legislators, just revised a bit, was submitted asking WashDOT to submit this letter to the Coast Guard on your behalf. So with your permission, I think my understanding is I'll be working initially with Lindsay, but now with Greg, just to keep following along and keep moving this thing along. What they want to do, he hopes to have that letter submitted to the Coast Guard in the first half of January from WashDOT, hopefully with our CC to it, and then or addendum to it, and then they will open up a 90-day notice of proposed rulemaking in February at the federal level, and then whatever the ultimate, I don't know exactly. We put a pretty big ask in there, so basically like 4 weeks. It might just be the 6 days of the event, but anyhow, that it looks like that's going to proceed, and it'll be an opportunity to maybe build on in the future for a more permanent resolution to those issues. And there's been other great stuff that comes up, but I don't want to take up more of your time. But this has turned out to be a very timely opportunity that you all took advantage of. So that was my report to you. Happy to answer any questions. But as I understand it, I will work with Greg just to revamp that letter and that you all wrote for the legislature and direct or ask WashDOT to submit this request to the Coast Guard.
Thank you. Thank you, Thera. Very exciting. You should frame that Federal Register on your wall or something like that when it comes out in February.
We
right,
can do that
next.
as lead planning agency. We can put on behind Amna's desk.
Yeah, maybe we could get it signed by the Secretary of Transportation. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know. Yeah, we'll find out. All right. Thank you for the update. Anything else for PRTPO coordinator update? Amna, thank you for your work. Thank you for moving that forward. All right, public comment period. Is there anyone from the public who would like to speak? And I'll also note we do have a member updates right after this. So Everyone who's a member, please pause. Anyone from the public, which I'm assuming we don't have anyone from the public.
We do not have anyone from the public.
All right, nobody from the public. We will move on then from public comment period to member updates. Anyone want to share what's going on?
I just thought this meeting needed more puppies, so here's a puppy. That's my comment.
Public comment from the puppy.
Yeah, right. More treats.
I guess I want to make a comment on behalf of Lindsay and go further back than PRTPO. I first got to know Lindsay as we were both council people, separate cities here on the peninsula, at the Association of Washington Cities. He just did a tremendous job there being involved and led just an example of an involved public servant, professional, calm, deliberative style, always with curiosity and inquiry. But what I really liked about Lindsay and will miss was the same thing I admired in Beck Ashby, which is being facilitatory and gracious in the conduct of all matters. So I just want to salute you, Lindsay, in your early involvement with the Association of Washington Cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. That means a lot. Thank you so much.
And I'll jump onto that. I got to serve on the Port Angeles City Council with Lindsay for 5 years. It was always a joy. I feel like we made each other better city council people. We didn't always agree, but we usually were able to find productive collaborations and compromises. And, we're going to miss you. You've never been afraid of issues. I think that's something we desperately need from elected officials. I think you've served really, really well for the City of Port Angeles as well as for the PRTPO. So thank you, Lindsay. We'll miss you.
Thank you, Mike. I tell people this story of how Mike and I took on off-street parking rules in the city. And we lost the motion. We were really worn out from that motion, but I wasn't going to stop. So I then made the motion to get rid of parking's requirements for ADUs, and Mike forgot to second me. So we were worn out. But then the staff proposed it in the fall and it passed unanimously. So there you go. Randy, thank you so much. Go ahead.
Again, I want to take a second also to thank you for stepping up to do this for what you've been doing. I also want to take a moment to thank and mention Beck and also Sarah. Thing about Beck, I waited to say, but the thing about Beck that's pretty impressive is there's nothing she couldn't do, as we said. Sarah did a great job of explaining her. When I take on a board, I will only take on chairs if absolutely needed. Too many things do that is, and I only do things when they're broken. Beck called me up and asked me if I'd take the vice chair to give her backup because of the big changes that were happening. And I was honored to be her backup for several years. And I'll tell you, all you had to do was just give her an extra moment of time, just take her back for a minute. There was nothing she couldn't accomplish. I also want to give a shout out to Sarah because all this stuff that you're dealing with now, it's easy to keep for everybody there. It's easy to keep an organization afloat once it's already been created and structured and put into place. It is really hard to create it. And both her and Sarah needed a pat on the back for all the work that they did in order to get us to where we are today. Sarah, you've been absolutely fantastic to work with. I'm proud of you. I watch you grow. If you ever need me, give me a yell. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Thank you, Randy. Any other updates?
Yeah, I'll add on to that as well. Thank you, Thera. You've served our organization extremely well. And I always want to mention this because in public life, so often we don't get good transitions. And so thanks for really being thoughtful and invest in the transition and get Amna on, solid ground where she has some confidence going forward. I think that really is an underrated thing, and you've been very thoughtful about it, and we really appreciate that.
Great call out, Mike.
Yeah, I feel really good at where PRTPO is going. Huge transitions in staff. I feel like that is way more important than us as elected officials, honestly. There's that saying, personnel is policy. And we have been really lucky here to have Thera and now the wonderful transition to Amna. Ed, thank you for being there, like holding things down the whole time. Yeah, we, we might be the figureheads, but we know where the work really happens. So thank you all.
Lindsay, it looks like it's going to the dogs.
I know, right? Yeah. All right. Anything else? Any other member updates? All right. Well, our next meeting is on February 20th, 10 to noon. That's virtual meeting. And then make sure your calendar is marked April 17th for the in-person in Jamestown. All right. Hearing nothing more, we are at the adjourn mark. Thank you all. It's been an honor to serve as the chair. Peace out, and we're adjourned.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Happy
Lindsay,
holidays.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Miranda.
Happy New Year.
Bye.
Happy New Year,
Ben.
buddy.